I don't know whose job it was. It's probably mine to remind me.
I'll put that
Let's
on my
see.
to-do list.
It is now recording. For what it's worth, I am so sorry. All right, here we go. SLPs.
Okay, I'll be quick. We have, a long time ago, we identified 5 priority areas that we felt like best supported literacy and math achievement. Those haven't changed for us. So those are kind of the guiding posts for us. This is our big hill that we have to climb. And I'll be quite honest, this year I feel like I'm trying to climb it in a power wheelchair.
It does have a full charge.
It does not. And no battery in sight.
Okay.
But to do that, we have 5 action research projects and one small piece of data that I can share with you guys right now. So we've addressed typical or TIC kids, complexity theory is new this year, robust vocabulary, oral narratives, and then preschool language and literacy. And with each of those, we do a quick dipstick of our SLP's acceptance and implementation of that through a stages of concern survey. So that's the next slide. Just kind of stage 0 is basically, I don't even know what this is, and I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to be doing. Going clear up to stage 7, where it's more like I'm refining my practice. I'm doing really well. It's day-to-day sort of living for me. I'm just trying to get better at it. So the SLPs just kind of pick one statement that best matches where they're at, and we have some baseline data and a couple of other points of data. We really would have done this in the spring, but I sent out an email asking them to do it yesterday. So on the next slide, the data that I have is actually given 8 hours to respond to an email, what I got from people. If every SLP were doing it at the optimal level, we would have around 315 possible points, depending on how many we have in our employee at the time. And in fall 2016, we had at least 3 of the 5 topics where we were getting it over 100. That fell a little bit by the spring, not a ton, but a little bit, just I think as we began to realize all we didn't know, and probably a few less participants in the survey at that time. And this year, we're down a lot. I'm hoping that that will look better by the spring when I can actually have those people in the room and force them to fill out the survey. Because that'll be, right now 28 means not even everybody responded with a I don't know what this is. So yeah, but that's kind of our year. All of our data from before is sort of moot, and we're building baselines for the next few years and just trying to play catch up on what our group as a whole knows and does every day. They're building some regionally based action research projects around complexity theory. We spent some time this year doing that. I think that'll be really interesting, helping us to narrow down the data piece and focus more on implementation that works for us. So I like the ownership that will bring. I'm hoping that looks good. For the spring, we'll review that a little bit and go over what everybody's proposing and continue to trudge forward up the hill.
We're going to get Denise Young to get her some assistive tech devices to help charge the batteries.
Let us know if you need a push. We'll be able to push a little bit too. Mm-hmm. All right, good work. Thank you for the data. Questions? Okay, the window of questioning is closing. Data team.
I kind of feel like maybe this slide should be at the end because it's a behind the scenes thing. Just a very quick update considering our time. You may have heard about the work of the data team or that one existed. So a reminder of the members. You can read there are focus areas or like our vision for what an awesome data team could make possible. Right now, those stages of concern were kind of hitting me like, oh, where's our team currently? Because we're new this year, but we meet monthly. We still are doing some refining of what the vision and the focus for the team is. Investigating, like I'm hearing all these different ways that people gather information, and some of it comes from teachers, some from AA consultants. We have statewide data, all that come from different places. Something we're kind of looking at is how do we make that easier for everybody so decision-making is more streamlined. Doing some learning. What do we know that's possible now? how do we make it better? Assisting with data collection with the different groups. And then I think there was a feeling at our last meeting that we do a lot of talking and we haven't decided on a project. And so the current work, we decided on a project. Let's just get started with something. And we have in mind a meaningful electronic data display or a model that would kind of give information as the state of the AEA, like what's going on across Green Hills. It could be a summary of information from this year, maybe some of the information that has been covered on this call. Use it as part of a welcome back message to all of Green Hills, because everybody on this call is probably learning a lot about what's happening, but what about everybody in our agency? And then what about all the schools that are part of this work? So that's our thing. Beyond just what we want to be, what's one thing that we're starting kind of as a product. I know there are data team members on the call. Anything that you would add to this?
I'm in agreement with you completely. We're still trying to figure out what we're doing, but there's definitely feeling, I know I feel it on the team of we need a project, and I think that's going to help us move forward and figure out what it is that we do, what we should be doing, and explore some of the tools that we're trying to figure out what things might help our agency collect and analyze data more efficiently as well.
Anything else for Sherry? And of course, Sherry's always working behind the scenes with a number of people, a lot of people on the Zoom today. Thank you, Sherry, for your leadership with this.
I just say I'm in awe of all the work of different teams. That's the best work.
All right. Thank you, Sherry. Early childhood.
Pam? Is Pam on?
Well, she chatted me, maybe.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
There she is.
Okay.
So we are a small but mighty team. This is our team membership. There's 7 of us that are actually officially titled Early Childhood Consultants. We are a bit split personality in that just like the teachers we serve, all of us are serving both general ed all the way through special ed. So most of our preschool programs that we're working with, the teachers have unified endorsements. So they're, both in one body. And that's kind of what our work looks like as well. Our overarching goals are across tiers, children preschool age, which can really be actually 2 years, 9 months. And we have 6-year-olds in preschool settings, so kind of across that age group. One of our supports is professional development. I believe, and Terry can add, we're somewhat of a model for the state in that 15 years ago we bought in hook, line, and sinker to the Iowa professional development model, and we have continued with that. So typically we have 100% attendance, monthly full PD days with on-site support across all of our preschool settings and community partners that are invited. Other AAs have looked to us and modified their kind of drop-down version of workshop approach. And so in the past 3 years, I'll show you that's been a literacy focus. And currently we are working in early math. One of the powerful things about the early childhood role is, David, kind of to your point of connections and synergy, we feel like we are always able to be in collaboration with multiple disciplines and content areas. And I texted Andy and said, okay, I need you to bring that adaptive piece and the fine motor piece to my team. So we rarely feel like we're working in isolation. We are kind of touching on whole child, which means we have to reach out and move from generalist to specialist in all all parts of child development. We also, each of us have assigned districts and classrooms for coaching. And then what's really unique, I feel, and this is either good or bad, however you want to interpret it, is we have a lot of other duties as assigned that actually end up looking like about 0.5 or more of our daily work. So we have team memberships on the literacy team. We have team memberships on the MTSS training cadre. We are involved and engaged in Child Find. We have folks that are serving on the state PBIS pilot. And so it's just really interesting when we're having a conversation as a team, because we truly are engaged and can represent multiple AA disciplines in our little group of 7. Some of our major initiatives this year, we've moved our PD model from 3 years of intense literacy work with Read It Again. We collaborated with the SLPs. We brought the researcher trainer in for 2 years and supported our teachers in what are the routines and practices in language and literacy. And I'll show you some of our screening data in a second. We've moved into math. And so right now we have 2 of the regions that engaged in about 45 hours of PD. We've incorporated video reflection during the workshop setting so that we can think about that use of tech and think about moving beyond driving to a site to coach on a daily basis, and how can we get into teachers' classrooms and support this practice-based coaching model. So that's one of our big PD initiatives. The most exciting work really that I've been engaged in my 17 years here is our preschool SDI pilot. And so we have, Amy Leith and I have been part of the design and deliver team with the state. We're on year 2. We've expanded this year, and Katie is also part of the coaching team for that. So right now we've got 3 districts, and they participate in 2 to 4 times monthly coaching and professional development. We've got Clark, Glenwood, and Atlantic participating in that. And that work, I talked a little bit to the lead team and to Carrie about, it's really changing the way we approach thinking about what SDI can look like, should look like in preschool. We're moving away from measuring minutes to measuring opportunities for children to engage and respond to foundational missing pieces. So really the data for that's going to be interesting, because most likely what we would see as a measure of success would be amended IEPs, where we've moved away from a core outcome, say letter naming or rote counting, to foundational language and opportunities to really demonstrate what's missing foundationally versus a core outcome that is really hard to show progress monitoring in. I did pull some data for Child Find. Oh, again, also on this, sorry, David, we are piloting a gen ed curriculum. It gained a lot of momentum, and we wanted to pilot it in 6 classrooms. An additional 5 classrooms purchased it. Super interesting. It's called Connect for Learning, where it is initially focused on math and science with social, emotional, and literacy embedded. So it's some of the major researchers from across the nation in early childhood wrote and published this gen ed curriculum project, and we are we are the first region in Iowa to purchase and pilot, and we are getting really good feedback from our teachers. So as an approach to universal, where we're really lifting up math and science, but also heavily embedded opportunities for social, emotional, and lit development. Nell Duke is the actual literacy researcher author. So you know that literacy is heavily embedded, but it is not literacy focused primarily. It's focused on projects-based learning with math and science as the kind of key pieces. We don't have to go into all of this data, but these are some of the data digs that we routinely use. One of the pieces that is a challenge for us is managing and responding to the child find process. So I just had pulled some data. We've had 147 referrals in our child find system for 3 to 5 year olds since last July 1st. The reason that that's unique and a challenge is just because we also serve Universal, we're doing these other things. Sometimes that can feel like our other duties as assigned or are occasional and incidental, but in fact, a really complex child find referral can just take a lot of teaming and a lot of time to decide what the interventions look like and then to decide whether to move to suspected. So it's just a piece of our job that we kind of quietly are engaged in behind the scenes, but I just thought those numbers were good for us to look at, that we are actively getting referrals. Another thing that we do with Child Find, I can speak kind of to the Atlantic team, is a lot of times we even look ahead with those teams and say, if there are initial evaluations in kindergarten, what did we miss in preschool? How did we not know about the kids' needs in the preschool setting if they actually were initially referred in kindergarten and first grade? So we're doing some of that kind of longitudinal forward thinking to make sure that we're really using that child find referral process to the best capacity to meet all kids' needs. These two other links, David, we don't have to go to them, but I just wanted to show you what we routinely kind of include in our PD is pre-post teacher survey. And with the Read It Again, the author, Laura Justice, helped us to develop classroom walkthrough fidelity checks so that we could look to see, was the professional development workshop translating into actual practices in the classroom. I'm going fast because I know we have other people. This next slide is just something that Sherry helped us with last year. Unfortunately, as we've moved away from a state license with IGDs, it's a little bit more challenging to pull this literacy screening data this year. We don't have as many programs participating in IGDs, and we don't have that same type of capacity to immediately pull the data like we did last year. But this is what we looked at last year. So that top graph shows you the fall 16-17 IGDs data, who was participating across the AA. The orange line is the state average line. And then the bottom graph is our winter data. So these are programs that were actively engaged in year 2 of literacy PD with us. And again, the orange line shows what the state comparison is. So we were really pleased with what our early literacy screening data looked like, both the gains and just as a comparison. And then with this data, we dug in to say, okay, so what's happening in these programs that are above the 85th percent line? Like what kind of supports are they getting? What kind of curriculum are they using? What does their universal look like? And that's just kind of helped us to think about having conversations with programs where kids might not be making the gains or might be struggling at a higher level. And then finally, I just wanted to show, this is just we have a very active GHAEA Early Childhood Facebook page. All 7 members of the team contribute to it. It's not uncommon for us to reach between 300 and 500 people with a post. We have people across the nation following us. We have people from the Department of Ed following us. And this was just kind of in summary, a shout out that observation that I made in August in that to the preschool professionals that we're working with, that they do have to move from being generalist to specialist in all these areas. And we are trying as hard as we can to keep up with that. I feel like our state involvement is high, and so that allows us to be trendsetters to some extent. And yeah, but we're tired on Fridays, so.
Pam, well done.
I'd like to shout out to this team that they are small and mighty. Pam, I want to thank you very much for your leadership. I know there's a lot of things going on in your life personally, so I appreciate your professionalism. And for some of you, you know that I'm starting to think about legacy. And this team, along with literacy, would be a legacy I hope continues in this agency. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Tara. And we, Terry allows us to take risks. She might not always tell all of you about those risks we take, but we truly appreciate the support and the lack of barriers to be able to kind of push forward and be pioneers in some of these opportunities. So thanks a lot, Terry.
Amen. Thanks, Terry.
Any questions for Pam? Pam, thank you to you and the team. I'm glad you guys take risks. Keep it up.
Hey, I don't see Jen Senson's on, and Angie's not with us, so I'm going to fill in
Okay.
for early access. As most of you know, early access is engaged in a routines-based practice with families. So the model used to be direct service to kids. Now it's a service to families, so that the magic doesn't happen just when our early access folks are in the home, but the parents have learned or had the opportunity to practice really great learning opportunities within their embedded routines. So this on slide 32, David, are you there? Because can you go back to slide 32?
This is 32 according to mine, Carrie.
Okay. All right, terrific. You're in the right spot for me. So you'll hear folks talk about the SOPR, and you'll see what it stands for there: setting the stage, observation and opportunity to practice, problem solving and planning, and reflection and review. So this is actually a nice, I'm not even going to call it a rubric, but it is a tool that our early access folks use to walk through their process and evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of their routines or their guided practice with families in the home. So of those routines, if you go into the next slide, they have those routines kind of in different categories. They have play routines, caregiver routines, pre-academic routines, and community and family. And though all of those can center around math and literacy as a connection to our goals, if you'll take a look at the next slide, David, that specifically addresses pre-academic routines. So they haven't totally abandoned our goals around literacy and math at all. They're doing it within the natural environment of children and the routines that families have within their homes and out in their communities. So you'll see their pre-academic breakdown and the number. These are routines where they have coached families. So reading with books, songs and rhymes, early math, writing, drawing, and then computer, TV, videos. So all of those are still literacy or math based. And then the next slide is this. This slide represents their model, their coaching model, if you will, for learning this information, because they are in partnership with Florida State. And though it would be nice if we could jet to Florida as frequently as we need to. We don't get to. So it's a distance mentoring model, and they use this. They're learning how to use this model. And these two, Jenny Sinchins and Susie Wrench, are our folks who are really helping establish this model, using this coaching model to implement these routines-based interventions with families. And they're using this SOPR tool to be their data analysis or to collect their data. So It's kind of like a 180, and my sense is in the beginning, it's a very good sense because I witnessed that there is it was a big change in practice, and there was some not so enthusiastic support for it. And now I think to every last person in early access, they'd say, wow, this is exactly where we go. This is what we should be doing. And what I think is interesting, it makes me think, gosh, maybe we need to change our model for school age kids. Maybe we just need to work with families at home. Who knows? Anyway, so if you have questions for early access, I'll jot them down and get them to Angie or Jenny.
So if you have questions, please shoot them to Carrie, and she can be our middleman for getting them answered for us. All right. Thank you, Carrie.
You bet.
Hang on just a second. I'm going to get out for just a second and get back in because I've added a slide and it wasn't showing. School improvement, differentiated accountability update. Tina, are you still with us, or Andrea?
I am. Andrea's having a little bit of technology issues, so she asked me to speak, and she'll add in. And Terry, please add in. We had one differentiated accountability visit in our agency, and that was at Hamburg, and we were there last week, and it was very successful. We had some people from the department there, and they rated it in the top 3 of all the visits in our state. They were very engaged, and it was really good learning. Terry, you want to add anything to that?
I would just ditto it. It was awesome to be a part of the process. I think it's a process that is very, very user-friendly, and it's just really operationalizing that facilitation guide that we've had in our hands for some time now. I think Hamburg has an excellent path that they can go down that will allow them to make a difference for kids, which is what it's all about. So it was a conversation. It was not an I got you. So I think Andrea and Tina did an amazing job. And I drove away from Hamburg thinking I wish every school could just go through this.
Good, thank you. Next bullet point there is
just a second. Tina, what made it, you've been on a lot of these visits, what made it so special?
So it was interesting. I asked Mark Crady that, and he said from moment one, Hamburg was comfortable with us, and that they were there to learn. They just bent over backwards. They didn't question anything. They just truly wanted whatever guidance and assistance that we could offer them. So we didn't, in some districts, they don't particularly want the team to be there. And this district loved that we were there, and so we could start. We didn't have to like build a relationship, even though Andrea and I really have not worked with them. They were just all on board to go.
That's very encouraging to hear, because in the past, I mean, I'm talking decades long resistance to and ignoring DE help, direction, directives. So I'm assuming that's Mike.
It is Mike. And the culture there is like, literally, it's like a family. They all know each other. They know everything about each other. They work together. They problem solve together, and they work through their barriers. And I attribute it a lot to Mike.
And I would add that Mike also made it a priority to have all of his teachers engaged in the work. So we had representation from every grade level, K through 5. Preschool wasn't not able to be there, but we had every teacher in the room, which was nice.
Okay, I'll go to the second bullet if there's nothing else around the Hamburg visit. And Jessica just helped me. I thought we had, when I was looking at our MTSS dashboard, I was thinking that we had 3 districts that had not come to the regional sessions around universal or intervention. And actually, we only have 1 within our whole agency. So while Terry was saying it would be great if every district could get this one-on-one, we do have all of our districts coming to the table, with the exception of 1 East district. So that is really good news.
And I would just add to the second bullet, one of the options a school might engage in over the summer with our summer services work around with Title I money is focusing on the implementation of the interventions they're doing around math and or literacy. So really helping them hone in and get really smart about their interventions and being able to answer the question, is it making a difference or not for kids?
Okay. And then the last bullet is just a real quick update that all of the guides that we're using around assessment database, decision making, universal, and intervention are all being updated now. And they will include math, preschool through 8th grade, and also aligning to make sure that we're addressing the ESSA indicators as well as Iowa's healthy indicators. And 6 modules will be ready by June that will be online, so a district wouldn't necessarily have to come out if they felt they had the capacity to work through the module online during the time that works best for them. So that's the work that's happening right now through C4K and supported through mainly a lot of ESSA people.
Any questions?
I just want to thank these 2 ladies for all of their hard work. I know that the learning curve's been high and you've done an amazing job. And for some of you, you may not know, we are hiring 2 additional Tina and Andreas. I know we hope to get the best of the best, and we'll be interviewing Monday the 19th and then again March 1st. So they're going to get a little bit of relief and a little bit of help, and hopefully we can make this bigger and better, because it's great. It's the right work on behalf of districts and kids. So well done, you 2.
Tina, how many other visits did you go on outside of our area?
This year, Andrea and I are both going to Storm Lake. And Andrea, are you going to any others?
Nope, just Storm Lake.
Okay, and then I'm helping with a pilot just to check on the revisions as part of my C4K. I'll be going to Dubuque to do 5 elementary schools in math. We're piloting.
Okay. Thank you, because one of the discussions the chiefs are going to be having with the DE is the amount of time that AEA employees are dedicating to statewide efforts. So it has gone down this year considerably.
Yeah, they've really tried to minimize our time outside of the agency.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
I also think, just to reiterate, they're really trying to capitalize on making sure that you stay as close to home as possible if you do go out, which is great. And I mean, it's a celebration. We only had 1 this year. So well done to everybody.
Good work all. Yes. Okay, so Carrie, are you still with us?
Of course I am.
I'm gonna turn to you. This is your slide.
Yeah, just for a little fun, because who doesn't love Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs? This is their song. Is it? I can't hear it.
No, it's not. It's sound on my end, but not on your end.
Huh, interesting. Well, anyway, so I'm sure you're familiar with the song. Look at
Hi ho, it's off to work we go.
Well, it sounds like Lane.
right. So notice that they're all working together. Some of them are sleepy. Some of us probably feel that way sometimes. Some of us might look a little snarly sometimes. They have a lot of fun together. But more importantly, they're working in a diamond mine where 1 million diamonds shine. Those are our little ones. We don't have 1 million, praise God. We're under 40,000, but they're all important. So that's why I shared that little hi-ho with you, because I'm guessing we're all back to the diamond mine after this.
Thank you, Carrie, very much for the video. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah, you know, wow. That's all I can say after today is wow. And I know we didn't get everything captured in today's meeting, but what great work all of you are doing. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing every day for our kids, for our families, for our educators in this part of the state. It's phenomenal. I'm so proud of each of you and the work of this agency. I also, and just reiterate again, and working across content areas, disciplines, you know, it's like it's old hat. Yeah, it's what we do now, you know, and that's just great. Keep that up. And then also just the connection to the goals Carrie's mentioned and conversations about those proximal, distal, lag, and lead indicators, you know, as we look at our work moving forward, always identifying those kinds of things. And just making sure as we move forward, literacy and math especially, we are going to look to you for identifying, you know, what are our baseline data as we move out of this year into next year. Really need to start to nail that down. One final thing, and that is that our next meeting, which is a face-to-face, is June 5th, according to my calendar. And so we will see you face-to-face June 5th. And I don't know, I don't have it in front of me right now. I'm looking at another computer here. Where are we meeting that day? It's not on my calendar. I'll have to let you
We're at Avoca.
We're Avoca? All right. We'll double check that and get word out, obviously, in advance of that. So anything else for the good of the order? Lane?
I'm not going to sing again, but thanks. It's impressive. And I asked David to send me a copy of the PowerPoint that I want to share with Lolly Haas. So I think that would be a good thing to share. David, it may be more appropriate for you to share it. So
I was thinking the same thing, Lane. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. I will do that.
Okay. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks,
I was going to
everybody.
sing on the Chain Gang, but I figured hi-ho was better.
All right. Everybody have a good one.